Good evening, all. Welcome to RAAH's weekly progress meeting, which is around 70 uh, uh, to I think second meeting of this particular year, and very first day of January 2022. I'm really glad that we are starting with this particular year with a great moment of celebration for all of us. I think first of all, wish you happy New Year and prosperous New Year. Look forward for great collaborations during this entire year, and I'm sure as alumni community, we will have lots of new initiatives, lots of new collaborations with help of each other. We will grow together. Today, we'll have uh, felicitation for Shri Sandip Shinde, who's our executive advisor, and we'll have his presentation on the particular innovation for which he got felicitated. We'll have a small question and answer session around of 10 minutes at the last of the session. In between, if you have any questions, please post. I'm going to ask him these questions as and when we get time. So starting with introduction of Sri Sandip Shinde, right now he works as head of alliances and operations at Digital Impact Square, which is TCS Foundation's initiative, and he also works as Impact Innovation Coach. He has more than 18 to 20 years of experience at different capacities from software engineer. Then he joined TCS, and then he's heading this particular innovative organization here in Nasik. He also heads and chairs as Chief Executive Officer Kumbhathon Foundation. I'm sure he will definitely talk about kumbhathon during his presentation. Um, Today's specific session is arranged to felicitate him for his great achievement, and I really congratulate him for winning this particular award. It is proud moment for all of us at RAAH. He's being our executive advisor, our board member. He was awarded Warrior of Change at the Impact Creators Award 2021 by His Excellency, the Governor of Maharashtra, Shri Bhagat Singh Koshiyari, in presence of Shri Abhay Jere, who is Chief Innovation Officer, Government of India. This award was given for the implementing innovation MahaKavach, which is digital platform for contact tracing and quarantine monitoring during COVID-19 pandemic in Maharashtra. Uh, this was a great collaboration between various organizations, government machineries, private players, and he was really main force behind that. Uh, we at RAAH are glad to be associated with such a great human being as our mentor. We take this opportunity to congratulate Sri Sandip Shinde, and today we felicitate him for such an outstanding achievement. Thank you, sir, for being there always with us and guiding us. And it's really great pleasure for all of us to felicitate you and congratulate you on this great achievement. I'll just quickly give you a brief about this particular award. The Annual Impact Creator Award 2021 is an impactful initiative by Millennium Devas Private Limited in their earnest efforts to recognize and felicitate the impact creators and innovators in our country. The ongoing pandemic has brought forward not only the bravest and the kindest amongst us, but also the innovators and impact creators. These individuals or organizations have shown the world that with hard work, humanity, and together with determination and teamwork, they can help build innovative solutions for the world that has saved invaluable lives, thereby paving the way for humanity and the humankind. While the entire world battles an invisible and deadly enemy, these warriors of change are up for the challenge, being at the forefront, leading the battle, putting others before themselves. To honor these unsung heroes and extend our heartfelt gratitude to them In their efforts to serve humankind and build innovative solutions, the Annual Impact Creator Awards 2021 were given to identify and recognize 35 of India's warriors of change during COVID 19 across the country. These warriors of change were duly felicitated and recognized by His Excellency Shri Bhagat Singh Koshiyari, the Honorable Governor of Maharashtra, on the 18th of December 2021 at a gala award ceremony at Raj Bhavan, Mumbai. Uh, Thank you, sir, for joining today. Once again, congratulations. While starting this sort of interactive session, I will first request you to give us background of this particular award and what exactly you had helped us all with. Uh, I will like to just tell all of you that I was part of this particular um, uh, disaster, I will say. It was very bad situation here in Nasik, especially in the month of April and May. I was personally admitted to ICU for 13 days. And I can tell you, this sort of innovation has really helped a lot to local government bodies as well as government authorities at state level. So over to you, Sandeep sir, for your small presentation, and then we'll take forward this interview in line with the questions we received from our audience.
Thank you, Abba, and thank you, entire RAAH family. Uh, it's always a pleasure to come back and again interact with all of you. Abba, am I audible?
Yes, sir. Very clear. Please go ahead.
So it's pleasure to again interact with all of you. So I'll just share my screen, confirm if you are able to see that. I'll just. So the way I have structured today's, so I thought it is important to share learnings with all of you, right? And it might help you in either respective organizations or to kind of work on similar kind of initiatives in future also. So that's the reason I kept it more as a learning, sharing my learning and during this entire process, and also definitely would be sharing what exactly we've done. So is my screen visible?
Yes, sir. Please go ahead.
So thanks again. So as I'm part of Digital Impact Square, which is a TCS Foundation initiative, which is the only social innovation center we've started in India, and which is in Nashik since 2016. And I spoke in the last meeting about the genesis of this particular Digital Impact Square, which goes ways back to Kumbh Mela and Kumbhathon. And I think a lot of these learning what we had, kind of ecosystems we created during Kumbh Mela, was leveraged during this pandemic also. And this is also one of the important learning all of us. And I have laid down all the learning at the end of the session. But during Kumbh Mela, the way it was a community initiative where a lot of scientists globally, academia, lot of administration, officer which are actually really key to solve the problems in Kumbh Mela, and various technocrats across India participated. And believe me, it was a similar kind of experience during the pandemic and what we actually did. So I'll just quickly walk you through. So this is TCS Foundations and Digital Impact Squares. Why we exist is to sort of create a change makers, nurture these young minds in India, and leverage digital technology to solve this, some of the important problem in India through sustainable and scalable model. And at the same time, build a culture of innovations. And you will see that when I'm going to share today, a lot of these aspects of culture of innovations, the community together. So all these things will, you will be able to see. And all these things we started. So I'll take you back to 2020, when so humanity actually faced one of the most difficult time. All of us encountered COVID-19, and it was completely unexpected for all of us, right? And there was a lockdown which was actually enforced on all of us to sort of really control the impact of pandemic and also save the human lives in India. And globally also it has happened, right? And it is not new for anybody now, but it was completely new for all of us, right? We could not imagine being at home. And if you maybe you can, if there is a way to type it here on the chat also. Maybe I would love to hear from all of you what kind of things you've done in those maybe first lockdown. I'll not even talk about second, but first lockdown. If you want to sort of, I understand, RAAH and the entire initiative started there. Every weekly these meetings are happening. But what else you guys have done? So maybe if you can put it in the chat to start with. So I hope you guys are writing. Even 1 word, 2 words, whatever, right? So maybe to move on, right? And I would definitely want to reflect on those charts as we progress in the presentation. But I would definitely encourage all of you to put what you've done in those 3-6 months, right? Whatever lockdown had. And many people actually, because it was new for the way work from home was introduced. Second, we tried to spend time with a lot of family member, friends online. So a lot of these other way to kind of keep engaging, because once your office work is over, a lot of ample of time used to be there with the community, right? So a lot of these new ways of engagement started. But what we did was completely different. In fact, for us, it was March 2020. Just once the lockdown happened, or around the same time, we were discussing about what can we do in the what can we do to solve some of these important problems in the pandemic, and can we leverage some of the learnings we had during Kumbh Mela. Because there was also, it was definitely a long preparation for 4 years, but this is the situation was thrown immediately. Lockdown was thrown to us, and there was a reason why lockdown was thrown. So what can we do? So that is a thought process we triggered, and I'll show you the entire journey, what we did during that. So one important thing, just to, before even talking about this journey of what we did during COVID-19, just to help you to understand. So it is very important for all of us to contextualize any global problem in COVID. So what we did is, if you look at the contact tracing was one of the important aspect in initial days, because if you look at the amount of pressure was there on the health system in India. It was still new, right? Our health system, what was set up, and whether infrastructure, doctors, nurses, health workers, the amount of resources we had, definitely there were limitations to it because of the amount of resources and infrastructure availability. Even we have seen, right, Europe, one of the best in the healthcare infrastructure, also struggled during first, second, and even third wave also. And looking at our populations and everything, the contact tracing was taking important toll on the administration also. And that was the only way to kind of even try and reduce the further spread. So on an average, anybody who used to come positive that time, this was way back in 2020, March to June, July, I would say, it used to take around 72 hours to really understand who actually came in contact with the people, with the limitations of whatever resources we had. Another thing, quarantine, it was definitely a challenge in India, especially both, whether it is institutional quarantine as well as home quarantine. There was a lot of cross-department monitoring was supposed to happen. So example, police was involved, health department was involved. So a lot of other departments were involved during this entire complex global problem, and eventually to really monitor the adherence of quarantine also. And it was very important because that was also one of the key reasons of spreading the this COVID-19. So if I want to put into the context, right, one doctor for almost 1,500 citizens and one health staff for 500 is a situation. And maybe this is still an idealistic I'm talking about. In some of the cases, this ratio is even worst. That time it was even worst, right? So you can imagine the amount of stress which would have been there on the community. Second, if you look at all of us, right, as a citizens, there were a lot of anxiety in all of us during that entire 2 to 3 months initially, because doctors were also still experimenting what kind of medicines and protocol might work to treat the patients, how it will spread. Even they were still, I'm still going back to 2020, March to May, when many of us were trying to figure it out, what all different symptoms are there, and a lot of anxiety was there. And we were trying to understand, right, even if there is a regular cough, we used to get worried about this. So this was actually situation in 2020 March for all of us, including health infrastructure, facility, administration, and as well as citizens on the other side, right? These are the three. That's where I wanted to set a context. Now, what we did to solve this, right? What we thought we can really take our steps, and we really came together and as a team really thought, can we contribute here? This is the complex thing what I could put it for a couple of weeks. What happened, right? This was amazing experience of how rapid innovations and dynamic, even in the complex environment, can really solve some of the complex problems. And reason I wanted to put here is also to maybe read out some of this, but this was definitely a complex one. So I'm talking about, this is a journey of entire whatever number of weeks we have spent and really implemented. Just before talking about the entire journey of weeks, right, what happened? There was a large development effort happened. So a couple of academics were engaged, and I will talk about them in subsequent slide also. Many corporates were engaged in this, maybe 6+ corporates were partners were engaged. 2 technology platform providers, so you can say that cloud infrastructure as well as other, more than 16,000 development effort were put during this entire effort to deploy this in near real time, ideations as well as deploying that. 5 government department, 17+ volunteer developer, and many advisors, and more than 4 countries, right? These technocrats more than in 4 countries were contributing in 12 cities. All of us were sitting in different, and many of them even today also I have not met. All of these people who contributed. Just to now start with, week 0. So we knew that there was a lockdown. There is absolutely no way you can actually go on field and really understand. In other way, in other scenarios, we generally go on field, talk to people, understand what are the problems, and they really understand the opportunity. What we really did in the week 0, first thing is we got a couple of people together, Digital Impact Squares teams, including me, Kumbhathon's teams, which was actually part of our Kumbhathon team during the Kumbh Mela. We got all of them together. Third, we got some of the innovators who actually worked with us during Kumbh Mela on healthcare challenges as well as crowd management challenges. Fourth, we got in touch with officers who were involved, IS officers who were involved during Kumbh Mela. So example, I can take a name of few. Dr. Praveen Gedam, now he's Deputy CEO of National Health Authority in central government. So he was municipal commissioner by then in Kumbh Mela. And he was also responsible for health services to be delivered during Kumbh Mela, to set up entire infrastructure. So he was the one who knew exactly what all challenges might be faced. Another important person we got in touch with Shri Dipendra Singh Kushwa, another IAS officer. Now he's CEO of Maharashtra State Innovation Society now. It is just a coincidence. He is now CEO of Maharashtra State Innovation Society. However, he was actually a collector during the Kumbh Mela in Nashik when the Kumbh Mela was hosted. So he's the one who was managing and orchestrating the entire Kumbh Mela management and everything. So he was the one working with the rest of the departments, almost 38 departments. So that complexity and understanding was there. So we all of us, we got together in near real time. Then we got Professor Ramesh Raskaran from MIT Media Lab also onboarded on this team, and it was completely virtual. And plus Nasik administration. So we had municipal commissioner and collector from Nasik also, as well as civil office, civil hospitals chief from Nasik, health officers. Some of those we actually onboarded as a part of team, and we knew that they are under tremendous pressure, so we can't add to it again. So this was, I'm talking about week 0 when lockdown was announced and all of us were sitting in home. But what we started doing on that day is try to kind of come up together and figure it out, what can we do. So first thing came in our mind, which everybody will have, right, is week 1. What we did when we got all of these, we had informal brainstorming session whenever people are available. We mobilized all the kumbhathon team and everything I talked about, some of the nodal officers. What we did is we started looking at what we did in Kumbh Mela, and we started repurposing those innovations in week 1. So we thought, okay, whatever is already exist, can we start deploying that and looking at whether it will be useful. There were a lot of innovations like epimetric tracker and example which was deployed in Kumbh Mela. However, immediately during the brainstorming and everything, we realized challenges are different on the field. What we have developed and deployed in Kumbh Mela as is may not work. But we didn't want it to stop. So there was one team we started actually working on it on week 1 itself. So there was a technical volunteers who started working on that and repurposing that innovations for COVID-19. However, the same time, Professor Ramesh Raskaran from MIT Media Lab was running this initiative called Safe Path. And they launched some of these contact tracing related stuff there. And when we were talking to administration, what we realized was the contact tracing is going to be one of the important things. Immediately, we got an official approval and everything, whatever is required from NHA also, National Health Authority, where their engagement was officially. You can imagine all these health officers and everything are extremely busy. And only this was possible because Maharashtra State Innovation Society and Digital Impact Square and Kumbhathon together started working on this challenge. This was not at all, this was like a community driven initiative, not one organization leading, all of us were leading. Maharashtra State Innovation Society was taking care of all required permissions, right people who should be part of conversation, whether from state, central, district. They were the one who were coordinating. We were ensuring that we are getting a right expert, like, right expert and right people. Third, we were focusing on ideating every day. And almost more than 18 hours we used to have. And because I told you, right, we were like, in 4 countries, different people. Somebody like Bhanu, I remember he was in UK. Some of the technical experts were in USA. Even Professor Ramesh Raskaran team were in USA. Some of the developers were also in Japan. So we had people all across India. So this was all mobilizing people and everything happened in first 2-3 weeks. And while we were also developing the prototype and everything, it was not like we are waiting for requirements to finalize and everything, which typically happens. And all of this in real time, we were trying to sort of create a prototype. And within a couple of days, the first, so I'm saying almost within 2.5 weeks, we were able to launch the first platform for quarantine monitoring in Nashik for a couple of citizens in one zone. So Nashik was divided into 7 zones. So we used Nashik as a sandbox to do this. And eventually this journey started and we started adding many of these initiatives and then eventually launched the platform. this is what just what we have actually leveraged is co-creating this entire solution with the community. So National Health Authority, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, and Maharashtra Department of Health, all of them work together. And here we had a Nasik as a sandbox, where Nasik administration, Kumbhathon Innovation Foundation, and all the players in Nashik. What we did is a two-part of it. One, disk-led innovations, where what I was talking about, contact tracing, as well as there is another thing for adherence of home quarantine. Third was what I talked about. We all had an anxiety initially, right? So self-assessment tools with analytics and everything. Lot of these things were introduced during the first couple of weeks. So many people started using the self-assessment tool, which was deployed by us with the help of Maharashtra State Innovation Society. Within a week, couple of lakhs of people started using that and really assessing themselves. And we started getting a lot of high-risk people also from that, and that data was used again by government. It was very interesting, not only from contact tracing, but also from proactively identifying hotspot. At the same time, there was a second initiative we were doing is disk-enabled solutions, where some of the startup in disk already created certain solutions. One of the startup which actually was working with police, they created a pass system, and it was actually deployed across entire Maharashtra. E-pass system, which was deployed across Maharashtra for any transportation and everything during the pandemic or lockdown, was used and was deployed by our one of the startup. So we were also trying to look at all of these solutions also, apart from what we were trying to lead at disk, which I was talking about, right? Many corporates, and I talked about, right, came together and really started working on it. What was it? This innovation. This innovation was, I talked about digital contact tracing, where what is to happen, only 72 hours is to take for any health worker to really do contact tracing for one individual. And you can imagine the stress they used to have to really identify the contact tracing. What we did, we reduced that to a couple of minutes only, in terms of understanding where contact tracing should be done. And then in a couple of hours, they used to kind of finalize which are the people potentially might have come in the context. So what we did is, there was a platform developed. This is a MahaKavach platform, where what it is to do is, it is to leverage the history of whether it is Google account or other accounts also, or Facebook data. So a lot of other data also we used, where location information of your, right, when I'm traveling anywhere, my information is actually captured and stored on my local mobile. So with this app, we were able to extract that entire information with the consent of patient or that citizen. And then the entire report we used to generate and give it to the health authority. This was not for public use. This was only for health authority to get an access to the report. What is to be there in the report is, as per the WHO that time, the guidelines were anybody who has spent more than 15 minutes with an individual need to be monitored. And that should be in their contact tracing list, right, as a high risk, potential high risk people. What we did is, with this application, we were able to sort of give a report. Okay, this person has spent 15 minutes, let's say, in XYZ location with the GPS coordinate and everything, accurate GPS coordinate and everything were there. And this entire report is to help administration, because as per the guidelines that time was, they used to go back 14 days and understand where this person went and came in contact with whom, right? So it was a 14 days, 15 minutes wherever they have spent, right? It is difficult to understand and really go back and figure it out, right, as a human being. And that is exactly we tried to do. Minimize the entire and digitalize this whole thing. And the other side, there was a quarantine monitoring, where whether it is home quarantine as well as institutional quarantine, there was a geofencing was done. And those people who are actually not doing adherence, because what is to happen, it is to be difficult for administration also to monitor them, because they were also taking care of patients, other patients, and other police was also busy in taking care of other things. And it was difficult for them to manage the entire thing. So what is to happen, those who are not adherence, alerts and everything were given to the respective officers. And then they used to kind of consult them and ensure that these people are there. So this was one of the things to help administration to reduce the burden, right? That was the purpose. This was also like a dashboard we had on the MahaKavach, which was actually only accessible to health officers. So example, you can see the division wise, block wise, that officer used to see who is actually, which patient is actually where, what is their status, how are they behaving in terms of home quarantine if they are. So all of these and alerts also used to come. From contact tracing, if they want to download report for that individual, they were able to do it from this particular platform. All of this, I'm telling you, was deployed in within couple of weeks. We didn't spend time on building the world-class sort of application, but we thought whatever is useful, we start delivering those concept. This was another self-assessment tool which I talked about, right? This was a old data, but you can imagine that within couple of days, these many people started looking at, and thankfully we created that in 2-3 languages: Marathi, Hindi, and English, and couple of more than later on were added. So many people from different, not only it was launched for Maharashtra, that's what our purpose was, but eventually it was used across India, many states, and surprisingly we saw some of the users also outside India also started using this tool to do self-assessment. And the reason why we got this idea was also again through administration, right? They were talking about a lot of anxiety in their people. What should we do? Then there was only way for you to do assessment. Okay, am I good? I'm in really good shape or not? If not, whom should I contact, right? All of these were taken care. If there are high risk patients, right, if were identified, citizens were identified proactively, actually there was a detail given to call center of health department, and they were doing a follow-up. So whatever follow-up was supposed to be done. More than 4.9 million people were sort of the impact we could create here through both the platform which were deployed by us as well as about our startups, which I talked about, right? E-passes and everything. Predominantly it focused on reducing the effort of for the administration, and the attention to the high risk areas in the districts or this. But what most important thing was community led initiatives were taken care. Now what all different learnings we have, and these are some of the startups. Also Trestle Lab was focusing on giving access to lot of content was coming every day from various sources, and it was difficult for anybody to really focus on that, and visually impaired community were not able to understand guidelines and everything. This team was working for visually impaired community. What they started doing, immediately deployed their own platform to help visually impaired community to get them access to the content which government was releasing, all the SOPs and everything. And many other. Vesatogo was working with Sahyadri to deploy, and this platform was already deployed in Sahyadri. Then it was scaled to other e-commerce hyperlocal, and also it was used for tracking the entire logistics for whatever box deliveries Sahyadri farms were introduced during that time. Some of the key lessons, and this is very important for me to sort of summarize, and so pardon me for this heavy text here, but I felt that is the best way to write. It is important to nurture and keep nurturing, continuous nurturing of past ecosystems created, and that is what we learned. You can imagine first 2-3 weeks, it was not easy for us also. Believe us, for us it was difficult to go and really see on field what is happening. When we wanted to deploy the kind of force we wanted, we had a lot of technocrats from Bangalore and different cities in Maharashtra and globally also contributing. So helping them to understand what all needs are there on the field was extremely difficult, because it was not ever, it was not experienced by anybody, right? It was completely new thing. What really helped us, this ecosystem which was actually nurtured initially, and that was leveraged by us. So whenever such a situations happen in life, right, we generally don't go back and look at what happened in the past, and we believe that it's very important, especially the ecosystem part. If we have already built, we should leverage that. Second and most important thing is while we try and do new things, also try and repurpose the existing products and services in the crisis situation, and at the same time start building your future products also. Here, if you look at, we started repurposing our existing products and services, but at the same time, what we started looking at, okay, in USA, there is a team from Professor Ramesh Raskar who is working on path check, contact tracing. Can we repurpose what they have built, whatever minimum? It was not deployed anywhere, but they have built a concept. Can we repurpose that for India? Can we repurpose what we developed during Kumbh Mela? Can we repurpose those platforms which I talked about, right? E-passes were deployed across Maharashtra, and the Maharashtra was a state where it was completely automated by state government, right? So a lot of these things where there is no need to reinvent every time, but can you really smartly look at that? But it is very difficult to do that. You have to really talk to a lot of people, and you really need to have a strong advisory to do that. Do not pursue perfection. Absolutely no perfection. I'm telling you, especially in such a situation I'm talking about. And sometimes during the product development journey also, balance these things. You can't just put anything on field, but also try and give whatever minimum required on the field. Example, you might have seen, we first gave quarantine monitoring management platform to them so that their at least burden is reduced. While we were working on contact tracing platform, initially that dashboards and everything were not deployed. It was semi-automated. So we used to ask them to install the application. The data is to come on our server, and then we used to help them to download the report and send it to them through secure channel. And these are the ways we started deploying features on field. And eventually they had dashboards and everything in next couple of weeks. But what was important for them is, can I get this feature yesterday? That was a scenario. That can I get the contact tracing feature not by tomorrow, yesterday? Because they were on their toes, they really wanted to reduce the effort for the contact tracing and reduce the spread. Also, it was very important for us to balance the technology which we can use, right? We didn't want to use very high-end technology also. We wanted to use the balanced technology. So simplify as much as we can. So that is what we also learned. We didn't want it to complicate, okay, build this, install this hardware, do this and that, because we knew that there are no people on field who can really go and do things. We need to do this on phone only, or whatever virtual platform. It was also important for us to enable right organizations, right individuals within those organizations. It is very important, these two things. Even if you identify right organization, but if you don't have a right individual within the organization, you will not be able to accelerate the journey. So here in this case, let's say National Health Authority, right? But within the National Health Authority, Dr. Gedam, because he knew us very well since Kumbh Mela, and also he handled those complex problems during Kumbh Mela also. So he could connect, and believe me that he used to be there almost 2 times or 3 times in a week to review what we are doing and giving the feedback to the technical team immediately. Okay, this is what is need from the government. This may not work. Similarly, Maharashtra State Innovation Society, because Mr. Kushwa was there, and he could mobilize certain resources from his time. So all of these were really, really important. Even we went back to the Nasik Municipal Corporation, those health officers who were involved in the Kumbh Mela, we got onboarded them during this process. So this was very, very, if you really want to solve this complex problem, identify right organization and identify right individuals within the organizations. And be learned to open and collaborate with such a large and like-minded people. That time we were not thinking this was a DISC initiative, or this is MSINS initiative, or this is kumbhathon initiative. Let's collaborate, whoever can contribute. And we really got amazing sort of collaborators across India and globally also. And what we believe is innovation lies in creating symbiotic ecosystem and models of executions with the multi-stakeholder ecosystems. That is very, very important. And this is what we believe these lessons can be incorporated everywhere. I'll end this sort of, and reason I put this because I know that all of you can take some of these learning to your day-to-day job or any such a complex problems you want to solve, not necessarily in pandemic, but any complex problem you want to solve, some of these essence can be actually used there. Reason why we got sort of awarded, this is not only me, but it's the entire team and organization. You can see that, right? All of us work together. It's something what we wanted to do together is, while administration, all of them were putting their heart out to solve this problem, we wanted to play our beat and really see that how can we contribute and really do something together, right? And what we were able to do almost impact more than 4 to 5 million people or community within this entire pandemic. And this all things we were able to do, let me tell you, within couple of weeks. You saw that timeline, it was quite complex. Within couple of weeks we were like on the road, applications were deployed, they started using it. And that was one of the key reason we felt, and we never thought somebody will recognize us. It was genuine effort to really contribute whatever little we can do. I think kudos to those people who are on the field, right? Health officers, police department, and everybody. But what we wanted to do, really help them to channelize their effort wherever we can. So yeah. Sorry, it was a bit long, but I thought it's important.
No, it was really interesting, and thank you so much for taking us through entire journey. I think I'm a passionate disaster management guy. I think I work very closely with Mumbai Disaster Management Cell, which is one of the best in India and maybe in the world. I think what I learned there is that proactive management is always better, and you said it. I think you cannot start working on the problems once they are there already with you, but you need to be like creating the resources, having the capacity building and all those things in place well in time. So I hope with first wave and second wave we have learned enough that if Omicron does something really bad, fortunately the symptoms are not like that, but we are prepared for that. I think I opened the session for questions. So without doing any much debate or delay, if you have anything to ask, please feel to either post your question on chat, or you can directly open your mic and ask the question to Sandeep sir.
Hi Sandeep, this is Amit here. Quick question. Do you see any other applications other than what you have used currently of your solution?
Can you elaborate the question?
So do you see any other fields that this solution can be applicable to?
Oh, this solution can be applicable. Yeah, I mean, we actually internally also discussed, and with administrations also. Definitely, these can be used by health department in future, and even police also. Some of the things which we developed can be used. But what we believe is application maybe are too small to discuss and think about it. But this entire process and approach what was taken during this entire situation, right, was an amazing, and I think can be replicated. You can imagine same government department, same police, same healthcare department, and they were also rapidly in sort of ideating along with us. And I'm telling you, it is not only in innovators sitting and with us, but equal amount of ideas and equal amount of input came from those people also. So I believe it is not only about application, but also about this entire process. I believe that is very powerful. When even I'm looking back and trying to incorporate a lot of these things in our learnings also. I mean, whatever we are doing today. Disk-led innovations, right? Some of the startups who actually did a lot of this learning, what they had in, and they now incorporated in their product and services, scale that in post-pandemic also. Not, still pandemic is going on, post-lockdown, I would say. They continue to do that. So disk-led innovation, innovator-led innovation, these two, definitely there is a lot of possibility to reuse this.
One interesting fact which I just realized, sir, while you're talking, I think number of government authorities involved, and you being from, say, your basic thing basic journey through private sector, and lots of the American organizations like Professor Raskar, the pace at which you guys work and the pace at which government authorities work, how you coped up with that? That was one question. And second question, was their infrastructure ready to accept your suggestions or your solutions?
So what really worked for us, and you're absolutely right. There were people initially first week, right? I mean, we were also not sure, and they were also not sure, right? But thankfully, what happened, the people we got in touch with within the organization, like Mr. Kushwa or Dr. Gedam and even Professor Raskar, all of them worked with us during Kumbh Mela. So that belief was there, these people will come up with something. So somehow that belief itself was a first step for all of us. And MSIN is right, and they played an important role. They immediately appointed one Mr. Amit Kothavade. It happened that he is also from Nashik and he's part of Maharashtra State Innovation Society. He's also part of their innovation team. So they dedicatedly appointed one person who can take care of whatever requirement we may have, whether it is about mobilizing with the health department, and because some of these things definitely need a lot of permissions and everything, right? So I alone was not worried about whom should I contact and who should. So all of us took a responsibility. My responsibility was to kind of understand the needs on the field and really mobilize all the teams and ideate continuously and start building the technology in parallelly. Whereas Amit took a important role to sort of navigate through all the bureaucracy and everything, which I was not worried about, because whatever was requirement, it was. If it is not happening beyond certain hours, I'm not even talking about days, then we had two people, right, Mr. Kushwa and Mr. Praveen Geda. And here locally also, collector as well as the municipal commissioner, then now he is the divisional commissioner of Nashik, were actually involved, and we use WhatsApp group to kind of in real time update all of them, and that really helped us. So both bottom up, top down approaches.
Good. Yes, Yogesh, please go ahead.
Hey, Sandeep, first of all, congratulations to you and your whole team. This has been great work. I've been following you since Abhay introduced during one of our earlier sections, you winning the disc as well. So congratulations. I think one question I wanted to ask, Abhay already asked about how you navigated the government and bureaucracy. I think there's a great learning there. I was also looking at, the key lessons learned you mentioned, and I totally agree that they're not only applicable for a scenario like this, but also they can be applied to our day-to-day lives, our regular professional works too, because something like, it's pretty agile. Lot of things what you mentioned are pretty close to the garage method, what I teach and follow and mentor. So that was great to see the use of that into something other than a software development or product lifecycle development. The question I had was, I know this was something, very time sensitive, and the first priority was bring up something fast. But in the long run, how do you balance between public health concern versus the privacy concerns, especially these kind of solutions getting used in future more and more? You also mentioned that this could be used by police authorities and all, which I totally agree. But again, like how do we balance those things in your mind?
No, you're absolutely right. I mean, and in fact, we were also cautious while building this also, right? Even Professional Ramesh Raskar also, safe path when he talked about the technology was also to ensure that individuals' privacy is not at risk, right? And even he won a couple of awards globally also for the same during this pandemic only, what he introduced the concept. There were a lot of contact tracing applications globally used, but this was used based on the fundamentals of that. We will not compromise on anybody's privacy, right? There is a consent properly given by that. But again, the same thing. Information is shared with only authorized people by them, right? It is not with unauthorized. And purpose was again clearly sort of defined is for this will help them to it was also situation. I'm telling you, we spoke to many patients ourselves, and while contact tracing was going on, right, to understand how does process happens, it was extremely difficult for those people. So first thing, it was they were into a panic that they got an COVID, and it was completely like a social stigma, right? Initial, you can imagine, it was completely social stigma,
Yeah.
and it was difficult for them to even remember yesterday what they did. Absolutely, that was a social stigma. And as per the norms, they were supposed to go back and think about what I did in 14 days, right? So that, and um, then that person is also going under tremendous pressure, right? Whether I should start medications or I should start giving these answers. Those kind of dilemma is to be there. So what we did, we ensured we calmed them down. We'll help you out to understand where you've been last 14 days, and then you tell whom you met, right? It was not at all like, what you've done and whom you met. It is just, okay, you went to XYZ locations, you spent 15 minutes. Do you remember actually meeting somebody there? It was like a conversation they used to have, and it was smooth journey for them also. And within couple of minutes, they used to say, okay, we met these many people. Then the next thing, what the person need to do, whatever numbers were there in his phone, is to add in that particular, that is a provision in the app. Okay, these are the people who I got in touch with, and then authority directly used to call them. So we ensured that even the pandemic also, safety was not. In future also, I believe the same approaches should be followed, and safe path. I mean, if you can really look at their research papers, what they've published, amazing. They talk about exactly same thing, right? You don't compromise on the safety aspect of anybody, but at the same time, can you balance this thing?
Yeah,
is more important.
Yeah, thanks, Sandeep.
Yeah. There's one question from Sudhir, Sandeep sir. He's asking whether any academic institution or students group was involved in it. Can students be involved in such kind of innovation assignment? If yes, how can we create awareness and inspiration in them to be the part of such assignment?
Yeah, so there were, like, as I shared, right, MIT was involved, MIT Boston's teams, Professor Ramesh Raskar's teams was involved, and there were a lot of scientists globally also. Those are students were involved. Even in India also, many students also participated and contributed in developing these tools, what we deployed on the platform. To be honest with you, that time it was what we did that time was simple. When we wanted people to contribute, right, we created a simple Google form and we circulated in all the groups, WhatsApp, whatever, social media and everything. And we got people who said, we want to contribute 2 hours a day. We will contribute in 3 to 6, whatever, like, in the morning, or 9 to 12 in the night, because I'm working somewhere and I have to work from home, or students also. So we got almost 50 to 100 such applications that we want to contribute within 2-3 days. So we used whatever best channels, but in future, if such a things are there, definitely, I mean, again, the same way, right, what we have done right now, like circulate through the ecosystem, and then those who are interested can participate. That may be the that we can continue to. What was
Okay,
that?
I think Amit has a quick question. I think you actually covered that during your presentation. How many man hours you actually?
More than 16,000 man hours we actually spent.
Yeah, and just to address the first question by Sudhir, I think kumbhathon was a very good example, Sandeep sir, where you actually involve school students out in Nasik.
Absolutely.
So I think depending on the nature of the project, and then of course time availability, here it was not, I think, that sort of easy to involve very immature students or something like that, but you needed very mature responses. So I think that was great insight. We have a couple of more questions. Swapnil, you raised hand first, and then Rajendra. Swapnil, can you unmute yourself and please ask your question? Swapnil? Are you there, Swapnil?
Yes, sir.
Please go ahead.
Sir, I just wanted to know at how Digital Impact Square supports agri-tech startups in the farm mechanization segments.
So generally what happens, this is an outside of today's context, but generally what we do a call for proposal, and we support from idea to prototype to somebody to launch their product in the market. So the entire journey, financial support is given, the ecosystem partners, mentorship, as well as the prototyping labs and everything is available here in Nashik. So there is a process we follow for the selection, and then eventually we help them to grow. So far, 14 startups graduated, and almost 10 are in the process of the same.
Sir, suppose if there is not any digital technology used in our tech products, do our startup idea or technologies are eligible for digital impacts?
We can definitely connect separately, but yeah, I think you can go through that link.
I just wanted to know.
We won't be able to support everything in terms of which may not have a digital component, because that's our forte. And if we start saying that we want to support and everything and anything, we may not be able to do justice. However, if there are needs, we can always connect you with the right people.
Okay, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, Raju, can you please go ahead?
Hey, hi Sandeep, this is Rajendra More here. This is the first time I'm attending your session, and I'm happy to learn this is such a complex project you and your team has successfully delivered end to end. So hearty congratulations for that. I have a question around how such complex solution was deployed, right? Is there any technical framework, maybe technology used, maybe cloud technologies, different applications, maybe data warehousing, how it was developed, and so some technical aspects of the solution. Is there a way we can refer to understand how these complex solutions can be built?
Yeah, a couple of things. So first, we simplified the technology stack. Okay, so on the mobile platform, what kind of technology you want to build, on backend, what you want to use. There were cloud infrastructures. It was, and again, we also tried to connect with the partners. For example, Microsoft gave us through MSINS, right? Again, Microsoft gave us Azure platform, cloud platform. Almost good amount of credits were given just to deploy it in Maharashtra. So we used Microsoft Azure's cloud platform for deploying everything. But what we did is we used a lot of these what we call DevOps practices. So there were experts who have done the DevOps practices, like using proper containers so that deployments are easy. So a lot of these practices were also followed, industry grade whatever standard practices were followed, so that security of the cloud infrastructure is taken care, the deployment is taken care, the agility is there. So a lot of these things were taken care from cloud infrastructure point of view. At the same time, on the core development part, right, it was a native language were used for developing mobile applications, and in the backend we use the React and Python and other technologies, which was because sorry, these were scalable as well as easily resources were available.
Yeah, superb things, right? To how to use, innovate basically. That was a great learning today. So Sandeep, it was nice to hear you and your presentation. And once again, hearty congratulations for wonderful work, and keep it up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Raju. I think there was another question from Siddhant, but Siddhant, I could not open the Jamboard. So if you can unmute yourself and ask, otherwise we can go towards the end of the session. Siddhant? Are you there? Okay. Anyway, so once again, Sandeep ji, congratulations for your great achievement. It's always a pleasure to connect with you and interact. We learn a lot every time whenever we uh, meet you personally or even have sessions like this. We have been nurturing this particular stream of startups at RAAH, giving lots of support to our ecosystem at RIT. So we'll always need your help. So thank you so much. Only few quick announcements for all of us. We have now three more sessions. The next session on 8th January will be carried out by Dr. Magda Chelin. She is one of the topmost global authority and speaker on cybersecurity. The session will be on starting a career in cybersecurity between roadblocks and smooth sailing promotions. On 15 Jan, we have Mr. Pritesh Mahajan, again one of the beneficiary, direct, indirect from Sandeep sir. They recently won this Shark Tank challenge and got good amount of money. Pritesh has agreed with his other partners and promoters to join us on 15 January to talk to us on their journey of e-bike and the way they have got into commercial operations. And on 22nd Jan, we have Mr. Sanit Patil, Senior Manager from Agni, Office of the Principal Scientific Advisor of the Government of India. It's a forum called Invest India, which is fronting mechanism of FICCI, CII, and other initiatives of Government of India to promote a startup culture in India. They actually bridge the gap between startups and big corporate houses. So very interesting sessions which are coming up for this entire month. So please stay tuned and please support the initiatives. Once again, thank you very much, Sandeep ji, and all who are present today on the call. Thank you and good night.
Thank you. Bye bye. Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.